Today I'm showing you what we'll end up with. So if you, in your sketchbook, as I get set up here, if you would turn to page 12. Now, prior to drawing, you may want to take just a piece of paper, any kind of paper, and from what you did yesterday, the lead will transfer here. So to keep your sketchbook neat and clean, you may want to just stick a piece of paper inside there. So on page 12, we're going to begin today. Hopefully you have your supplies all out. And to start off with, what I would like for you to do is I would like for you to do 3 squares in your sketchbook. I will show you the positioning. So again, I like to just take my straight edge. It saves me a ton of time. And go like this. And then take my straight edge, line it up in the corner and on the top and the side. Again, just a quick and easy way. So 1 square there. You need to have some room up top and a room alongside. So I'm going to put my second square here, and again, I like to trace around the side, the top, whoops, the side. Then I like to lay it in here. And close up the bottom. Erase the overhang. And then your third one down here, leaving plenty of space on the top and the side. And again, I like to go around my straight edge. You are more than welcome to also do this with a ruler. If you have a ruler, you can kind of indicate the size of my boxes. In a minute, I can measure for you, and give you an idea of how big my squares actually are. So 3 squares on page 12. If you are using a ruler, my squares are about 2-inch, a little bit more than 2-inch squares. The size isn't so important as is the actually getting the parallel diagonal lines. That's probably the trickiest. Okay, so now I am going to make these into 3D objects. So what I'd like you to do on each one of them, line up this point and this point, the point on the bottom and on the top. And draw a line. Do the same with this one. A point on the bottom, the point on the top, and do that line. That spine has a way of, the spine of the book has a little bit of way of getting in the way. We're going to build these all at the same time and then shade them. But to each one, we're just going to add a little line which will change the positioning of the box. I'm going to scoot mine down just a little bit as you draw, just to make it a little bit more comfortable on my hand. Okay, hopefully you are ready to begin. Probably the most important part of this is to get your parallel lines done correctly. And again, an artistic sort of way, when you don't actually have a ruler, we're gonna use the slide method today, just because I do want you to practice this slide method. So I'm going to lay my straight edge on this line right there. I am then going to pick up the corners of my straight edge, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide directly down until I reach the bottom. So what you want to do is kind of eyeball, is this distance look close? Hopefully it does. Draw a line. Again, my lines are probably a little bit darker just so you can see, but you can sketch lightly, and then if you're happy with it, go back and darken it in. I think this is the hardest slide, is now I'm going to slide directly this way. I'm not gonna go up, but I'm gonna go directly horizontal. So I'm gonna take my straight edge. I kind of to that corner and go like that. So your goal, if you want to check yourself, is the distance here, the distance here and here should be the distance. Again, I'm a little bit off. So I'm gonna do the same thing. It's gonna be harder because of the spine on your book. And maybe this diagonal you're not gonna draw quite as long. Give it your best shot. Maybe it's easier for you to tip your straight edge this way a little bit. And again, drag it straight down till you hit that corner. And then lay it down so you can trace it. I know it's kind of a funny way to do it, but it seems to work for most kids easier that way. I'm gonna lay it here. And I'm gonna slide. Again, I would go lightly. Now, if these need to all be parallel, and I know that yours might not be perfect. We're still in the practice of drawing, but give it your best shot. So I'm gonna lay it here. I'm gonna slide to the bottom. And whoops, missed the straight edge. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna lay it here. It doesn't matter if you do what diagonal you do first. Ooh, that one. I didn't use my straight edge. So take a little bit of time and we will close our boxes up in a minute. And again, if I'm going too fast, just stop the video and get caught up and then begin it again. So, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to pick a point on this line. So I'm gonna pick a point right here and I'm gonna draw a dot. On this one here, I'm gonna pick a point right here and draw a dot. On this one here, I'm gonna make it a little bit wider box, so I'm gonna put a point there. Now, erase the excess line you have. Now, we have an up and down line and an up and down line in our parallel. We want this one also to be up and down parallel. I'm gonna show you the common mistake. Look at what I'm doing, but don't do it. So a common mistake, kids will say, well, I just gotta close my box up and I drew the lines. You get wonky box. Do not do that. That happens because lines are not parallel. So, I'm gonna erase that. Hopefully you did not do that. If you did, erase it. Now, we can do one of two things. We could take our straight edge and we could measure here. And I could then go down here, put that little mark there on the corner, and put a mark here. And come over here, go to the corner. I see that I don't have that great of a corner here done. That's okay. And put a mark here. Now I could connect the dots. Or I could go here and I could parallel, voila. Notice I connect, I end up right there. I could lay my straight edge here and simply slide up till I get to, what do you know? So I'm gonna show you that again. Again, we're going for up and down, here, up and down. So, 2 ways to do it. I'm gonna do it both ways. I'm gonna lay that corner in there. Mark it, come down here, lay the corner there, and mark it. So that's one way to do it, and then connect the dots. Or maybe you don't want to do it that way. You could do it this way and get the same thing. Parallel, 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 parallel. Let's see, I can tell I'm a tidbit off. It matched. Okay, now I want sideways, sideways. I want this one also to be sideways. So I'm going to lay it and slide it. Now notice I did not put a dot on this other line. I just did the slide method. Now to your eye, does that look like, is it taking the form of a cube? Or does it look wonky? Now I'm going to show you the third time. Again, it's all been exactly the same. And I will also give you some time to do it. So, again, I'm going to lay, I need up and down, up and down. I need an up and down line here. So how am I going to get it? I'm going to lay my straight edge till I get to this dot. I went a little bit beyond that dot. And I'm going to draw an up-down line. So is this line parallel? Does this appear to be the same distance all the way? That's what you need to ask yourself. Now I'm going to go here, lay it on my edge, and I'm going to slide till I get to this dot, and I'm going to go across. And then I'm going to erase. I just think having a number 2 pencil eraser sometimes is handy. So I now have 3 cubes. What I'd like you to do now is take a few more minutes and you also complete the cubes. Now you will need your blending stick, maybe a piece of paper towel. You can also use your finger, but I'm going to show you a really simple little line to draw to make these look like cardboard boxes that you could either jump into from the top, crawl into from the side, with just one teeny little line. So we're gonna go to the first one right here and find your corner right here. And at this corner, all I want you to do is parallel this line. So I'm gonna lay my straight edge in there, and it's gonna be a very, very small line. You're going to put that. Now, if you step back a moment and take a look at yours, does it start to appear like it could be a box that you jump into? Well, it will be far more convincing when we add shading. So I'm going to put my light source this way, and now I'm going to add shading. So probably what would happen is my light is going to touch my box, and right here it's probably going to be very, very light. If you have a blender stick that already has been used and is slightly dirty, you might be able to actually shade with the use of your blender stick and not even lay lead down on there. I always like to go same direction, but then always check that my corners So there is a light shade. So shade in your light. Now, it's probably in here gonna be a slightly darker shade. And again, I like this little blender stick for moving around the corners. If it got too dark, just put your eraser in there and erase it a little bit. So in shading this box, this is going to be light, slightly darker, but where there's absence of light, it's going to be much darker. So, and again, just for my hand, it works easier for me if I slightly move my book. So feel free to move your book around. I'm going to lay some lead in here. And take my blending stick and melt my lead. Get it looking really nice. So you can melt it. You can also go back in. Some more lead. And this too probably goes from light to slightly darker as it catches some light. So if it's a larger area, I'm going to lay some lead down here at the bottom, because that's going to be my darker area. And then when you have a larger area, I think what's handy is to take a piece of paper towel around your finger. And don't be afraid if you go outside your box, because you can clean that up with an eraser really easily. You can even pick some lead up from the dark spot. And if you slightly went outside, now we are going to put it sitting on the floor against a wall. So I'm going to go to my furthest back point, which would be right here. And I'm going to go above that. And because I have another box pretty close, I'm just going to do a little floor line here, a wall and a floor line there, a wall and a floor line there. And because the box is leaving some shade there, you might be able to take your dirty paper towel and give it a little rub. I like to take a little bit of lead. I also like to leave a little bit of light shade there to show the difference between my shading and my box. And again, paper towel, toilet paper, the blender stick. They make all different size blender sticks. I like this little blender stick for little areas. So there you go. You've completed a box now that looks three-dimensional that you can jump into the top. Now, we are going to do a simple little line on this box from this back corner parallel with this line. So it's a very small little line from this corner. It goes parallel here. So right here, we're gonna do one little tiny line like that. Now, because you're already experienced at this one, can you now see how you could crawl in this box? But to be convincing, we want to show our light source. So, wherever our light touches is going to be lighter. So right in here is going to be lighter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dirty paper towel and I'm simply going to do a rub. Notice how nicely that gives me a soft light, quick and easy. Now this will probably be a middle shade. So I'm going to lay some lead down here. And again, I think rendering lead works best. I really like the 6B for shading because it's nice and soft. So now I'm gonna rub it up. I can always pile more. And now the interior side wall is probably going to be your darkest. And notice how when you let the shading create your line, that looks really nice. What I mean by that is we did draw a line, but now shade it, make it part of your shade so it doesn't necessarily look like the box is outlined, but instead it's created with shading. I may have just lost you on that point, and that's okay. You'll hear as we go along, as I talk more and more. You don't want to necessarily outline, but letting the shade here create this line and this line. Gives it a great appearance. And now this, I would say, is gonna be medium dark, so not quite as dark. Because it may catch just a little lip of the box, the interior of the box catch a little bit of light. So now, let's put the wall and the floor. So to do that, find your deepest point, your furthest back point. See, it would look funny if I put it here. So I need to go above here and go parallel with my box. And now rub some shade. Here again is where I swallow that line of the box with my shadow line. I'm kind of up against the spine of the book. So I'm going to just finish rubbing it. The paper towel rubs it nicely. You could also use toilet paper. Kind of hard to give the shading in there. So you have now just completed your second box. One box with this little line here you can jump into. One box with this little line here where you can now crawl into. What we will do today is we'll stop right here. I want to give you plenty of time to get these both shaded well. And we will complete this box tomorrow.